Hi, this is Peter again. I just wanted to make a quick video here to show you a couple of the devices that you can now use with EVA or EVAN for home automation. On the left here we have the Smart Home 2412N, which basically is a controller unit that you can see has an Ethernet connector on the bottom of it and a little set switch and a light on the side, or LED on the side. And what this unit does is basically it provides a web server within it that EVA can now talk to over the internet, and it communicates with other devices like this one over here, which is a Easy IO40, and it can basically switch the different little circuits in this unit over here on and off using the wires in your house. So how you set it up when you get this particular unit, you plug this into your power and you'll see a little light LED comes on there, and you plug the Ethernet in, and then what you do is you take the other device so they can get mated together, and I'm just plugging one into the other, but you would normally plug it in somewhere else in your house. And then what you do is you press the set button over here and you just hold it for a couple of seconds, and that'll flash, and that means it's in the mode ready to link up with another device. And then if you press the set button on this one, hold that for a couple of seconds, about 4 seconds, and you'll see they flash and talk to each other, and now they're linked together. So what that gives us is basically a way of having EVA talk to the controller unit here and tell this unit to switch on and off. And this particular unit, you'll see, has a set of contacts on it where there's 4 different relays in here, and each one has a normally open or normally closed setting on it. So for example, you could set one normally open set of connections here to your garage door switch inside your garage, and have EVA automatically open your garage either just by a command or by scheduling something, or by doing it based on your location. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to tell you about this whole setup is that to connect to the controller device here, you're going to be connecting it to your home router, and in order for this to be able to be accessible via the internet, you're going to have to forward a port on the settings of your router, so any traffic that comes in to this particular device gets forwarded from your router to the device. So how you do that, and it depends on the particular router that you have, but there's a setup software that you go in for your router, and there's generally a section called port forwarding or gaming, and what you'll do is you'll create a new entry in there and you'll call it Insteon or whatever you want to call it, or Smart Home, and you'll put in the IP address of this particular device, and generally it'll set up, and when you buy the device it comes with instructions that tells you how to get the IP address that it's assigned to. In my case it was 192.168.1.111, and so you'll forward any traffic coming in, and by default this uses port 80, which is your just regular internet browser port. So you'll forward any traffic coming into your home network on port 80 to that 192.168.1.111 or whatever it is in your case. So once you've done that, then this unit is accessible over the internet. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to tell EVA about this device over here using this number that's on the back. And before we do that, just so we don't get too excited and test it and it doesn't work, we definitely want to make sure, as I said before, that your router setup, your home router setup, has got port 80, which is the default one that the router forwarded for this to this particular device. So any traffic coming in to your home network IP on port 80 comes off your router and comes to this device. If you don't have that, then EVA won't be able to talk to it, and you'll get an error when you try to do something.
Yes, Peter.
Define a new device.
is the IP address of your home network? You can find it by going to addismea.com on your home computer. Say the complete number including the dots.
67.14.212.163.
Please choose the correct IP address. What is the port that you have open on your router and forwarded to the Insteon 2412N device? By default it is port 80 unless you have changed it.
80.
Please choose the correct port number. Please tell me the 6-character device ID from the back of the Insteon device.
This is this one.
This is not the 2412N but the other device we are going to control.
19.bb.64.
Please choose the correct device ID. Please choose the type of this device.
Okay, so as I said before, this is the Easy IO40, and because it has the extra relays in it, but most of the devices that you're probably using initially are ones that have a single outlet that can be switched, so you could turn on a lamp or something else, or are a unit that replaces a switch in your wall, so you could basically turn your living room lights on and off. And in that case, if either of those, you just use the second option here, a device with a single switch in it. Those are much simpler because they just have a single on and off, as opposed to this one that has 4 different relays in it. So I'll choose the 40 here.
Please tell me the name you would like to call this device.
Garage.
Please choose the correct name for your new device. The details for this device are displayed. Tap on an item to rename it and select the on-off and time-off settings for each relay.
Okay, so I've called the device Garage, which is this one, but within each relay in there I can give each relay a different name, so because I could hook 4 different things to it. And so you see here relay 1 through 4, and then relay 1 through 4 is the name, but I'm going to change the name on the first one in a second here. And then the third setting there is on. That's whether or not you're saying a positive word like open or turn on or switch on when you try to activate this relay. So if I'm going to call this first one Garage, I'm going to leave that setting as on. And then the last setting there is how many seconds you want the connection to stay connected before it disconnects it again. So in the case of a garage, you generally want to be able to press the button and then let go again, and that triggers the garage open, and then you would do it again, press the button and then let go again, and that triggers it closing again. So we just want to put like maybe 2 seconds on there. So let's go ahead and assign this first one here.
Please tell me the name you would like to call this relay. This is the name you will use to tell me to turn it on or off.
Garage.
Please choose the correct name for this relay. Should I activate this relay when you ask me to either turn on or open the garage, or when you ask me, turn off or close the garage? Say, turn on, open, turn off, or close.
Open.
If you want me to automatically turn this relay off after a set time, say the number of seconds or minutes, or say, leave on, to just leave it on.
5 seconds.
The details for this device are displayed. I have successfully adjusted the details for this relay.
Okay, I chose 5 seconds there, so we'll be able to hear when the relay clicks on and hear when it clicks off, and hopefully the microphone here on the video will pick that up. Okay, so what I've done now is I've taken the 2412N controller unit and I've plugged that in across the room to a different outlet, and I have the Ethernet plugged into it and the other end of the Ethernet plugged in to the router, and I have the router configured so any traffic coming in on port 80 gets forwarded to the internal or the local IP address of that Insteon controller, the 2412N, which again by default on mine was 192.168.1.111. So now I've got this Easy IO40 just plugged in here to the power board, and again we're on the other side of the room, so the way they communicate is through the wires in your house, and you may need to experiment a little bit. You might find that some outlets they're not able to communicate through because of noise or something else, and you might have to just try a couple of different outlets until you get success with where you configure your the controller and where you configure this particular device, or any of the devices really. So the next thing that you would do is you would want to wire this up to the switch for your garage door. And again, there's 4 relays there, and each of them has 3 different connectors on them. The center one for each is a common, and the one on the right is normally open, and the one on the left is normally closed. So in the case of your garage door, you'd want to hook your 2 wires up to the normally open pair, so when it's not doing anything, it's basically not, the relay isn't connected, and when you tell EVA to open the garage, it's going to have the effect of closing those two connections, and which is going to be the same as pressing your garage door button. And the way I've configured it again was it'll turn off after 5 seconds, and you probably only want to do it for 1 second for your garage because you just want momentary on and off, and that'll trigger it. And then you would say again, you know, open the garage again, and that will have the same trigger as basically closing it again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask EVA to open the garage, and you should be able to hear the relay click on, and 5 seconds later you'll hear it click off again. So let's go.
Yes, Peter.
Open the garage.
The garage is opening.
Okay, so you heard it click on, and you heard it click off again, and EVA told us she was opening the garage, so that basically had the effect of opening it. So that's kind of how all this works. And again, this particular unit, the EasyIO 40, is a little bit more complicated, but you could have a lot of fun with it because you could hook anything to it. And the other devices, as I mentioned, there's all sorts of different ones that you can get, and I'll be interfacing with more of them, but for right now you can use this one, and you can use any that just has a regular on-off setting on it to switch on, you know, an outlet or turn on a light or something like that. And lastly, I just wanted to show you how you can get EVA, this will all be in the help by the way, to display your devices that you have configured, and then obviously you can tap on them and just go through and change the settings that we just did, but basically I'll show you how it works.
Yes, Peter.
Display my devices.
The list of your devices is displayed. Tap on a device for details or delete by saying delete and the item number.
Okay, so you can see there's the device that I configured before, and it has the 6-character ID, and then the type, and then the location that it's at. So because you could control devices at different houses if you wanted to, it's not set by one particular IP address. And then lastly is the description, and again if I tap on that,
the details for this device are displayed. Tap on an item to rename it and select the on-off and time-off settings for each relay.
Okay, so that will only show up the details if it's this EasyIO 40. If it's a just a regular one, there's going to be nothing else to configure, so you wouldn't have to do anything. And then, as I said, if it's a light, you could say turn on the living room light, or you could say enable the living room light or activate. And then if it's a door or something like that, you can say open or close. So there's all sorts of different words in there that allow you to turn it on and off. You don't have to say turn on the garage or, you know, open the light. So it's much more natural. Anyway, I hope everybody has some fun with this and starts hooking up and automating things in their house. And again, all these commands for opening and turning on lights can be used with the scheduling. So you could say, you know, every night at 5 p.m. turn on the living room light, or you could say when I leave home open the garage, which if the garage was already open would have the effect of closing the garage door automatically. So anyway, I hope you have a lot of fun with it.